Welcome to a very, very, very special edition of Guitar Tales. We are doing our long anticipated Van Halen tribute show. If you look at all the social media pages on Guitar Tales, we've been doing a lot of posts, and Scott Guitarmist has too. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of views. People are really excited about this. We are too. Our virtual green room is filled with our guests. But a couple of things before I introduce our guests, and then Scott will, in his erstwhile fashion, pull them in. As we do every show, we want to thank Charles Larita of Mischief Studios, our sponsor of the show. He's over in Pennington, New Jersey. If you want to buy a guitar, fix a guitar, play a guitar, record your guitar, or learn guitar, go to Mischief Studios. They were from season one. Charles was on the show. Talented, great guy, and he's a great supporter of Guitar Tales. So that's that. Here's a cool announcement. From this point forward, literally popular demand, and I'm not just making that up. Scott's going to be co-hosting the shows with me. People are enjoying, I guess, the banter, and Scott brings some really special stuff to the fore. He's a working musician. He knows how to build guitars. He knows how to fix guitars. He's a great player himself. He's laughing. All right, I made part of that up, or I exaggerated. But we're excited because Scott and I, every time we talk, we say that's a show. So we realized that because we started this venture together almost 5 years ago, it makes so much sense for us to do it together. So why don't we pull Scott out?
Hello, kids.
There we go. So in no particular order, on our Van Halen show, we've really carefully picked everyone. First one I'd like to pull out of the green room and into the main virtual room here is Brad Capanjola, and I think I pronounced his name right.
He'll tell you if you didn't.
You did.
Thumbs up. There you go.
I didn't fuck it up.
No, you did great.
All right. All right, good. From Romeo Delight, he has been in a Van Halen tribute band that has literally been noted by many folks who do commentary as the best tribute band in the country, which means literally anywhere, doing Van Halen. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next on our list, and I heard a little beep. I think we have our secret guest in the green room too. I heard a beep, and that is a secret guest. Old friend of the show, great guest, great musician who has done his own phenomenal Van Halen bass shows, Joe Baracata. Joe, thank you also for joining us.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
We had such a great time with you. You did some performances that I specifically remember gave me goosebumps, literally, not figuratively.
Thanks.
Phenomenal stuff. And then the great Phil X. And Phil
we really need to bring him on.
No, we don't really like Phil.
Sure, why not? Phil's a great guy. Phil's the kind of guy you want to have a beer with, as Tone King once said, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely.
It doesn't look like he drinks beer. You don't have any stitch of fat on you.
Or coffee in the morning. We got to have coffee in the morning.
You do. See, I like this co-hosting thing. I could slurp my wine while Scott talks, so this is a good way to go. And just to be clear, because we have a big show, I have 2 bottles with me.
Oh, dear. He's going to start slurping and slurring and slurping.
With my Chardonnay, there was only 2 inches of wine left. So I thought, there we go. Doesn't that look pretty good?
My wife got him drunk yesterday at his house.
She did.
That was really great.
$350 worth of wine last night.
Wait, that doesn't sound right. My wife got him drunk yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, she's a wine connoisseur.
Yes.
A connoisseur of fine wine. I'm a connoisseur of Coors Light. So that's where I'm coming from.
Now, Scott, before we say anything else, can you take a look in the green room? Did I hear our special guest arrive?
Yes, except he's got a really busy name here. I'm going to shorten it up here.
Okay, so while you're doing that, so this is a surprise, not just for the fans of Guitar Tales, but this is a surprise for our guests. And we were kind of playing around a little bit beforehand, and I heard someone throw out some initials which were not correct. But the gentleman we're about to pull in from the green room, literally, he's been on Guitar Tales before. He is a legend, a friend of Eddie Van Halen, a personal friend of Eddie Van Halen, and also best friends during their lifetime together with Johnny Cash. Any guesses? All right.
So let's bring him in. Who is it, Dave?
It is the great, not the good, Henry Vaccaro, owner of Kramer Guitar, current owner of Vaccaro Guitar. I got goosebumps again talking about this. So he worked with Eddie. Look at the smiles on our panel.
We know.
Henry,
If you know, you know, they say, right?
that's right. Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So,
Wow.
yeah, I know the people are stunned.
I have a question.
Yeah, go, Phil. You got a
No,
question?
no. Let's settle in first, and then we'll
Yeah.
we'll get it going.
So Henry, my first guitar I ever owned was a Kramer guitar. I had the aluminum fork guitar, and I was so excited to get Henry on long before he was producing the guitars that really everyone later knew Kramer guitar for. It's exciting because he's actually bringing back aluminum neck guitars under Vaccaro guitars. It's very exciting stuff.
Which really look amazing.
Oh my God.
And sound amazing too.
He drove to my house once and showed me one of the necks. They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
But Scott, you have a question for Henry about the Kramer guitars that I know.
Yeah,
Henry
my dad is 83, and we were over there on Thanksgiving, and I remember a story from way back when. Being my dad was friends with a lot of the Bon Jovi guys. That Sambora, who's also a Kramer endorsing artist back in the day, told my dad that, hey, they got Eddie Van Halen as an endorsing artist, and everybody was very excited. It was really going to take the brand to the next level and everything. And then that Eddie wanted to have Kramer make the Frankenstrat, including the cigarette burns and the wires hanging out of it and all that stuff. And you guys said yes to a lot of things, but that's one thing you guys did not want to do, was recreate that guitar, mass produce that guitar. Is that true?
Well, first of all, I wasn't involved in the day-to-day decisions at Kramer. I was not the brains behind the company. I was the money behind the company.
Right.
Okay, so those decisions were made internally with probably Dennis Berardi and Eddie and the guys in the factory. So I can attest to that. The stuff can attest. I'll attest to.
But they did mass produce, some kind of Van Halen guitar at some point, didn't they not?
Yeah, different ones with the banana neck, with the yes.
Yeah.
So tell us, Henry, the story. I believe it's an airport story about how you guys connected. Wasn't there? You had a salesman who ran into one of Eddie's people.
How the Eddie thing came about?
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, Dennis Berardi, who was the president of the company, was in many ways a marketing genius. He could sell ice cream to the Eskimos and sell them ice in the winter. So he is on a plane ride to California to meet with the president of Guitar Centers. When the plane lands, he gets off and he sees a young man who's got a tour jacket on. It said Eddie Van Halen World Tour. So Dennis accidentally or on purpose meets a guy in the restroom and says, hey, were you on that tour? He says, I'm Eddie's guitar tech. 15 minutes later, they're at Eddie's house. And that's how this whole thing started.
Wow.
That's crazy.
From a chance meeting on an airplane going to California for another reason.
Wow.
And at that time, we had just signed up. We were going to use a Rockinger tremolo. This is before Floyd Rose. Right. And then somehow Dennis saw the Floyd Rose and he said, wow, this is much better. And that's what he introduced Eddie to at first, was the Floyd Rose tremolo. And back then we still had aluminum necks. And then Eddie felt the aluminum neck was too heavy. And gradually we went over to wood necks, but hell, that's like having Babe Ruth endorse your baseball bat, you know?
Exactly.
And it's just skyrocketed.
Wow.
And
by the way,
the
anyone on the
business.
panel, you guys can ask Henry anything you want to. Feel
Henry, I have a question. I have Paul Unkert do all my guitar work. He refretted all my guitars. He told me there were 3 double necks made, and he does not know where they are. You know the double neck he played Secrets during the Diver Down tour was yellow. One of the necks was aluminum.
Yes, that's correct.
He said there were 3 made, and no one knows where they are. Like I think Eddie's son has one of them, and 2 of them are like.
I can't answer that, but there were 3 made, and one was an aluminum neck, and the other was a wood neck on a double neck. That's true.
That's
And
amazing.
Eddie was quite a character. I mean, when he would come down to the factory, he probably would stay 3 or 4 days, and they would stay with Valerie in Dennis Berardi's house in Homedale. and then they would come to the factory and spend the whole day there. And crazy. I mean, then one night Eddie wanted to go gambling in Atlantic City, and I had a friend of mine, Saul Rubin, who made a connection and got a special bus to take Eddie and a whole entourage down to the casino. Eddie reaches in his pocket. He didn't have any money, so my friend Saul arranged for a line of credit for Eddie Van Halen. Well, that's the way the stuff goes.
That's wild.
That's amazing. So this is why we brought Henry on, because everyone on this panel, we love Eddie, and there's such beautiful background to this, in that, you know, Eddie, you know, and Henry together. And Henry, you knew Eddie even if you weren't making.
He almost got involved back then. I was trying to buy the entire beachfront in Asbury Park, and I eventually put together a partnership and bought it. And Eddie loved the casino building, and at one time we were talking about some type of arrangement where he would invest in the casino building. Now, the history in the casino building is mind-boggling. In 1956, I saw my first rock concert there, Bill Haley and the Comets, and it all started in Asbury Park, New Jersey. So there was a history there.
Wow,
that's incredible,
crazy stuff.
That's amazing. Well, Henry, we're happy. Stay here as long as you'd like. Yeah, but we love having it just adds such a beautiful layer to the show.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
Yeah, so you know, oh, go on, Henry.
All right, can I plug my new guitar?
Hell yeah.
Okay. You haven't seen this. This, first of all, United States patent.
Oh,
all right.
That's big news. That's bigger than the other news that I'm going to be the co-host of this stupid show.
Okay. This is the new stock.
Oh,
wow. That's cool.
Okay, now what's incredible about this, you can unbolt it.
And he's doing it now.
I think I know what I'm doing.
Get out the power tools.
How is that, Scott?
Right off. So you can have any headstock you want.
Oh, the headstock, not just the neck.
No, the headstock. And the final design of this headstock is going to have built right in here. The Floyd Rose nut is going to be made as part of the aluminum headstock. So then the only thing on top of it is the locking device on it.
Right.
So we're in the final stages of all this R&D work, and it's going to be pretty amazing because a lot of people didn't like the V headstock. Okay, I did. It turned some people off. Okay, but now you can have any headstock. So the new company, we're going to have the V headstock updated. We're going to have this for the shredder guitar, and then we're going to have one that hits the country market. So
you are bringing back the V though, or the tuning?
Absolutely, and we're working on right now. This is crazy, Bill. We're working with the Jonas Brothers, and they designed the new V-neck to their liking. So we should have that coming out pretty soon. But what's incredible, you know, again, this is the back. It's aluminum, and then the wood casing just snaps on.
Wow.
And this has no structural value. All it does is give you the warmth feel of the wood. The structure is naturally in the headstock and in the extrusion.
So here's my question, because some people think an aluminum neck would be heavier.
Aluminium.
Wood, but wouldn't it be lighter than wood?
No, the way that we've got this design now, it's compatible to any wood neck out there.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Well, so it would be the same. Okay.
Okay, so
is it ever heavier?
We're hollowing out the back of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then the final product, this would be 3/8 of an inch instead of a 1/2 inch. So you take that added weight off. And then we're going to use lightweight tuners. So the weight is now going to be the same. But you get this great sound. And the sound just resonates. So
I would assume an aluminum neck doesn't need a truss rod, or it does?
No, it doesn't need a truss rod.
It doesn't need a truss rod.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's pro and cons, whether we're going in there or not, only because some people want a truss rod. Okay,
I used to leave my guitar in my van for like 15 years. I still use it. It's like a cheap Squire. And it would stay in my van, and Paul Unkert couldn't believe it stayed in tune. It would stay in my van if it was 120 degrees or 120 below degrees, and I would just go. I mean, we just doing cover stuff, no Van Halen stuff. The thing never went out of tune. I just couldn't believe it.
Well, there's something else.
Truss rods. I guess it had a good truss rod.
No, there's something else we're experimenting with too. Is a carbon fiber rod, which is lighter than a truss rod and gives absolute rigidity. So, anyway, it's something different, and one of these days maybe I'll learn to play the guitar. I don't know.
That's the most amazing thing. Here's a guy who's so involved with guitars and stuff doesn't even play. That's astonishing.
It's amazing.
But I just love that business and the hype that goes with it, and my son and my grandson are going to be involved, and I'm still doing crazy shit. I'm doing a Johnny Cash audio book.
What?
Yes, and I'm going to have. Hopefully, I talked to John Carter yesterday, and we're looking at his cousin Thomas Gabriel to narrate the book. But in this book, you will hear my voice commenting on the different chapters in the book and how they affected my life.
Wow.
But then, when I mention a song like my first Johnny Cash song was "The Ways of a Woman in Love," you're going to hear the song in the book. But it goes one step further. Johnny Cash was roasted in Memphis, Tennessee, in 1986, and I was one of the roasters. Waylon was the master of ceremony, so you're going to hear Waylon's voice, you're going to hear Johnny's voice, and you're going to hear Chris Christopherson dedicating a song to Johnny that's never been heard before, all in the book.
Beautiful stuff.
Look forward to that.
Beautiful. Fantastic. So hang out if you'd like. We'd love to keep you on the panel, and let's start really digging in to Van Halen. And Scott and I talked about it. We're going to be open about it. As we all know, Van Halen can mean the band, or Van Halen can mean Eddie, and it could also mean Alex.
Right.
Let's start with you, Phil. Just give us a little hint. Did you talk a little bit about how the first time Eddie's playing influenced you?
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, it's like anybody else, right? I was a kid. And so my cousin had Van Halen 1 on cassette, and we were in his basement, and he's like, "You got to hear this," and then just bypassed, fast forwarded to Eruption, and it didn't even sound like guitar to me because I was like 13 or something, and I'm like, wait, that can't be a guitar. It sounds like it's a violin, like Paganini going crazy or something, and then. But that audio aspect of it was only a small portion because I was when I was 14, I saw the 1980 Invasion tour.
Okay.
Minute Children First, complete with Michael Anthony playing the big keyboard and a missile for When the Cradle Will Rock, and T-shirts going around the audience saying, "Have you seen Junior's grades?" I mean, I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I remember this like it was like, an hour ago. Yeah. It was like, not only did you see, okay, I'm going to speak for me. Not only did I see the most incredible, you witnessed this incredible guitar playing, but it wasn't like the guy was up there and just playing and doing his thing. His thing was sprinting across the stage and up PA stacks, and while doing this incredible guitar assault. Yeah. Ears. And to me, that's such a high bar that no one will ever touch. It was to take it past Ed. It was 4 superheroes flying around the stage, saving the world, and it'll never be anything but that to me. And then to continue, I saw the Diver Down tour. The Fair Warning tour, and then the Diver Down tour, and then 1984. I saw them all at Maple Leaf Gardens when I was a kid, and it's like nothing will ever come close. That band was so on fire, and so rock and roll, and leagues above anything else I'd seen. Like, I mean, I even saw Cheap Trick back then. I saw Black Sabbath. I saw Iron Maiden, and Bruce Dickinson is a hell of a frontman as well and can sing anything live. But man, what Dave did and what the band did as a whole, it was just untouchable. And then guitar-wise, being a guitar player and a young aspiring guitar player, what I got from Ed the most is what really helped me as an individual was don't take his licks and play his licks, but take his licks and what they inspire, and create your own licks and be more inventive and come up with stuff that nobody else is doing. And that's what took me, his rhythm was one of those things that he was so locked with the drums. Him and Alex played together for so long, just them, that they were so locked, made me think I really got to work on my time. No matter who's on drums, I just got to lock in with the drummer. And
Absolutely.
That never happened.
Wait a minute.
No, to be completely honest, because my drummer sped up and slowed down an awful lot too, and he was my first drummer. And then I remember, who made me work on my time was a producer. His name was Arnold Laney, who had a band up in Canada called Frozen Good, and he saw me play at the Gasworks, where I saw Tallis pre Billy Sheehan playing in DLR. And then I was playing there one night, and he came and freaked out, and he said, "I got a session up for you on Friday." And I went in, and I just started playing, and he goes, "Whoa, what are you doing? Can you even hear the drums?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I hear the drums. I'm good. No, you play so on top of the beat, I can't record you today. So here's a metronome. Go work with this for a week, and we'll try again next week." And that's exactly that. Well, I was 19, maybe, Wow. And you find yourself when you're playing guitar that when you're playing, like, I'm gonna say, when people say they like the way I play Eddie Van Halen, it's because the fire and his recklessness became a part of me when I was learning all this stuff at such a young. And not from YouTube. It was way before YouTube. I had to fast forward and rewind the cassette.
That was when they had the Victrolas, right?
The what?
The Victrolas with like the big horn coming out in the 78 turntable.
It's an old man joke, Phil. I'm 60
I got
this
that
week.
tattoo here.
That was yours? Come on. I wish I had one of those. But those are the elements that became a part of my playing. And even when I was my own stuff, it was that kind of thing that made me, I guess, stand out. And but once I got my timing together, I started doing sessions all the time. But the cool thing for me was learning by ear, learning Van Halen by ear. And then I just had a 3-piece, so I would play Eddie's parts and sing Dave's parts at the same time.
Wow.
And it was just one of those things where people would just walk in and go, "Oh, this guy's just Van Halen." And then that's when I had to, I got to stop.
My brother and I ruined, I don't know, countless VCR tapes, and DVD players. My poor parents had to keep going to Crazy Eddie and buying new ones.
Oh my God.
When we got Live Without a Net on VHS, we destroyed the VCR in our house, because you can't pause VCR tape for too long; it really screws up the head. Yeah. And we just tried to figure out what the hell was going on.
It is true. Yeah, it was so different back then to try to learn.
It was, and not having the visual, Yeah. Not having the visual was a big part of developing your ears.
Yeah.
So a lot of the guys that I grew up with, we all had good ears, and we all learned how to do stuff. And if you learned something wrong, the guy next door learned it right, and you're like, "How'd you do that?"
Yeah.
It was you, and man, that's how we did it. That was our gang.
I showed David over the weekend that my cheat version of The End of Eruption.
Right? Kind of, sort of.
I wasn't kind of. I can't demonstrate it now, but yeah. I was just doing it with 2 notes and an open string instead of playing the 12th fret back and forth, right? And I played it like that for years, and nobody knew the better. And then I saw the video. I'm like, "Oh shit, I learned it wrong."
Yeah. Well, it's funny when you have all these the tapes, the demo tapes, and outtakes and isolated guitar. Right. And then I had to put up a video of me playing On Fire to like a backing track a couple years ago when I was in Nashville, because I was like, I listened to the isolated track and I was like, holy shit, 40 years of wrong.
Yeah.
Because some of the nuances and the little musical innuendos aren't there when you got the band bashing and Dave screaming and all that stuff. So all that stuff comes to light when you listen to an isolated guitar track. It's pretty amazing.
Well, what happened to your SG? Is that still alive?
Oh yeah, it got fixed. It got
there it is.
It got wrecked in January of last year, and then it got fixed by a friend. Yes, Greg Platzer. He got his mitts on it, and he made it better than ever. He does this thing to fixing headstocks where they sound better than they did before. So I'm pretty happy.
So
Yeah.
that you threw the guitar off stage in your little rock and roll bit, and it hit the floor or something.
I think that's rock and roll, right?
Yeah, well, it is. But it kind of sucks. See, an aluminum guitar neck probably wouldn't break.
That's right.
Plug.
You're probably right there. But my tech, Sammy, I mean, his record was awesome. There's like 25 catches, 1 fumble.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
That isn't bad.
Those are good odds.
It's like, you know what, dude, don't worry about it. It's my fault. I'm like throwing in the dark sometimes and hoping he catches it. So that's mine. That's on me.
How many people have you killed?
On me.
Like have you not killed 25 but killed the 26th person?
My lawyers don't answer questions like that.
so
David, I'm going to have to sign off.
Okay.
All right, Henry.
Nice meeting you, Henry.
Nice meeting you.
Everyone, it's Vaccaro Guitars, the great Henry Vaccaro, and owner of Kramer Guitar, which really on some level is what brought us all here today. Henry, thank you so much. You were everything we hoped you would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, pal.
Thanks.
And there he goes.
I didn't know we had limited time.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I guess he's got stuff going on.
So for Brad, it looks like Brad was just like I was watching your body language. So you probably have so much to say about learning, figuring out what Eddie's doing, right? Yeah. And I'm going to guess that where Eddie's still with us and on this panel, he would say there is not a right way to do it, but everyone with the exception of me on this panel has to sort of figure out how they want to do it. And I was watching your body language, Brian. I could see like the gears turning in your head. What did you go through when you first put yourself in the position where you would really be judged by how well you were reproducing what Eddie did?
It's very hard, man. I mean, it's not easy because he played everything in a way that worked for him, right? Yeah. I mean, when you really listen to how he plays, it's not how anybody plays, that's why like you get all these people that try to play like Eddie and it doesn't sound quite right. Like you play the same notes and everything. So you just try to get it as close as possible, because there were some things he played that were just like, holy shit, how the hell am I going to do that? But you just try to get it as close as possible. But yeah, a lot of things were very difficult. That little lick in I'm the One in the intro, that was ridiculously impossible for a little bit. But that little lick in there, that was pretty difficult to do. But yeah, man, it took a long time. It took a long time, but luckily, just kind of figured out a way to play it to where it's good as close. I mean, it's never going to be exact because I'm not Eddie Van Halen, but
right.
Even Ed never played anything exact.
No, I was saying when I was learning the Unchained solo, which is very simple, but it's not simple to play it behind that wacky track.
Exactly.
You cannot find a live video of Eddie playing that solo because I think he winged it.
Yeah.
Totally. Really?
So, Brad, I would ask you, because you do it all the time, if you do that song, is that, to me, some of Eddie's simplest solos are his hardest solos. To get right with the band, it's almost impossible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get it to where it works good with that band. You know what I mean? In other words, to like who you're playing with, so you just try to lock into who you're playing with. You try to make sure that you're at a certain point to, before the change comes in. And then you make it work. I mean, but it's interesting because, like you said, listening to like Van Halen, sometimes with some of the solo spots, it sounds like everything's falling down the stairs, but you grab everything right before you got to make that change. It's like a very kind of like live Cream kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's, so it's like I kind of go in with, you really got to listen. You really got to listen very hard when you're playing that. But yeah,
sometimes on the record it was an edit.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like the jump solo is totally edited.
There's definitely an edit in that. The jump might be a couple, but there's definitely an edit in the Mean Street solo when his hand's here and then all of a sudden, what? No, And you know that was an edit.
You know what's wild about the Mean Street solo? If you listen to it with headphones, his Marshall is not even distorted. It's almost like just a cranked Marshall, and it's all his fingers. It's amazing. Like if you solo that track, it doesn't sound like what we probably all play through.
No, that's what my problem.
Very clean.
My problem with a lot of covers is that they use so much gain, and he didn't have that much gain back then. No, it's like so much gain, and it's like, but the gain is forgiving, so you can be sloppy, and that's why people like it, I think. But I think you got to go back to thinking Ed didn't have that much gain, so he had to play the way he was playing to hear what he was hearing in his head. So it was way more legato, way more pull-offs, way more hammer-ons. And the reason that I picked everything, like I have to pick the solo to On Fire, even though he doesn't pick every note. I have to, because I don't have his left-hand strength. His hammer-ons sounds like he's picking sometimes. Like, dude. But I mean that with all respect.
Fuck you with all respect, right?
In every note, his legato, his hammer-ons were so strong. It's just for me, and because I picked everything, because I learned to play bouzouki and picked everything on a bouzouki too. So to me, it just sounded right. And then I found out later that no, you're playing it wrong. He doesn't pick every note. I'm like, I don't care. This is how I do it because.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You just kind of develop your own way to make it sound good. You know what I mean? To make it sound right. Getting back to that edit thing, though, you mentioned like there were edits and things. So This Is Love solo is all over the place. That has to be an edit because it just, when you play it, it doesn't make any sense.
I've covered that. It's a pain in the ass. You're right. It does jump around.
Crazy. That one kind of stressed me out, to tell you the truth.
Speaking of that song, have you guys seen that video? You ever see the video they did for that?
No.
It's sort of a homemade looking video, right? It's really old.
It's hilarious. It has nothing to do with the song.
Yeah,
nothing to do with song.
Well, and
it's like David Lee Roth humping a dinosaur through the whole video.
Right.
Like literally, pretty much.
And the crazy thing, Joe, you do a lot. You do Billy Joel and things like that, right? Van Halen has great songwriting for so many of their songs, but when you're covering Van Halen, it's not the song. It's Eddie. And I think you're so much more you guys could tell me because I don't know, but I would think that when you cover almost anyone, maybe Rush would be another example, some of the more technical bands, but when you're covering Van Halen, it is so much more than the spirit of the song.
Right.
You were in, and by the way, Phil X, Scott and I both saw on there was some chatter on some Facebook page or Instagram or something about everyone's a little concerned about Satch, what he's about to be doing with Sammy, and someone writes in, you should have Phil X instead.
You were on the short list, Phil, for sure. Yeah,
getting a lot of messages and stuff, but you know what? I think for me, like, I hated this. There was a couple of guys that put up videos of because they were bagging on Joe because he didn't do the Main Street thing. Maybe he was prepared. Maybe he wasn't ready for it. Maybe he shouldn't have even done it. But you don't bag on a legend like that.
I know.
Like, hey man,
and he's getting tagged and stuff in these comments.
Well, people love to hate on the internet. I love Satriani.
You got these guys.
Satriani.
Yeah, there were these people that like posted like themselves playing it after he didn't play it so great, and it's just like, but you had like 5,000 hours with that. He's got way more other things to worry about than you do, pal.
Man, who's got a career?
I think Phil, you're right. I think he just out of nowhere had to do it, and he probably didn't learn it yet.
You know what?
Well, the question was, what's the hardest Van Halen lick or whatever that you ever came across? And clearly, that is difficult for people. I had an easier time with it because I have I started off as a drummer like Mr. Baracata, and I have some piano playing skills. So the rhythm of it for me wasn't as difficult as figuring out where to put my fingers, right?
Right.
But for other standard guitar players that took lessons, and Eddie was sort of a self-taught guy just doing his own thing.
Right.
And it's really like way out of the box. Whenever you learn a Van Halen song, you go, whoa, what the hell? How did he come up with that?
But see what you're saying then about this, it came to you more naturally.
A little bit
because of the timing.
Van Halen lick.
Yeah,
I think that's the coolest guitar thing ever created.
Right, it's a different.
Especially like Phil, like I was 10 years old or 9 years old when that album came out, so I really don't remember. But I did ask people, like my friends that are a little older, and they're like, before YouTube, no one knew what the hell he was doing.
No, we heard this noise and we're like what the hell?
Stuff.
Yeah.
What is going on? And then once you finally get a lot of the Van Halen songs down, he comes out with the power drill, and I'm like, that's it. I'm quitting guitar. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's putting a power drill in a solo.
Hey Brad, I had a question for you. Like I am a drummer first, and believe it or not, I knew every Van Halen song on drums. I started playing guitar at about 15. That's when I took lessons from Ron Blumenthal, who's Bumblefoot. And but I noticed putting this Van Halen thing together, there's and it's no disrespect to Eddie Van Halen. It's actually, there's so many guitar players that can do Eddie good. There's not many drummers that can even touch Alex Van Halen.
Thank you.
So do you guys have a tough time? Like, listen, I'm not saying I'm this great drummer, but last Freehold show we were doing, I was more excited to play drums. But Rocco, my friend Rocco, he's from Staten Island. He tours with Ace Frehley. I don't know.
Rocco.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A Monticello, I think is his name. He was supposed to play guitar, and I was supposed to play drums. And I remember, like, I can't imagine how Brad feels, because as much as I love Eddie Van Halen, I looked out in the crowd. Everyone had Van Halen shirts on, and I was like, holy shit, like, we better really fucking nail this shit now. And it's like the whole show, it's more nerve-wracking for me to play Eddie than to play Alex. I don't know why. Yeah. Because Eddie's so, like, technically perfect. Alex, you just got to get his feel, which a lot of drummers, I grew up on Van Halen playing drums, so.
Wow. Yeah. So for the group assembled, I'm going to let Scott do the introduction. We have another surprise guest.
It's actually, I'd forgotten that this fellow is going to join us tonight. So we'll bring him on and let him introduce himself. I see he's got a beautiful Christmas tree there.
Yo.
Good evening, bud.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How's it going? What's happening?
How's it going?
Very good.
So, Brad, you want to introduce, or Bud, you want to introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
Yeah, I am the lead singer for Brad's band, Romeo Delight.
My band.
But he doesn't say that in private.
Brad's band.
So he's playing the part of Dave, pretty much.
Yeah, well,
look at all.
Or Sammy, or a little bit of both.
For you guys, so.
So wait, you guys do Hagar era as well?
We do just a couple Hagar songs, but it's primarily Dave because that's what everybody wants, mostly.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny too. We're talking about drummers and we're talking about this. It's like I said when I saw my first concert, it was the whole, it was the band, like off. And I don't, and like I said before, I'll never forget it. But one of the coolest things for me, being a guy that got to, being in a mega band that plays in arenas. And say, John Douglas, who's teching for Tico last year and teched for Alex for like 20 years. I would show up early at Bon Jovi concerts. I mean, at Bon Jovi sound checks before the band got there, and we would jam Van Halen in an arena.
Wow.
That's cool, man.
That is very cool.
And we saw a video of that. It's awesome.
And you got a chance to play with Mike Anthony, right?
The video was on fire. But then one night we played Light Up the Sky, and it was so good. We did our last show at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville last year at the end of April, And I was like, I'm talking to the sound guy. I go, hey man, can you record this like multi-track on Pro Tools? And he goes, yeah, no problem. And then I talked to the Tony Bon Jovi, who's like our visual guy. I go, hey, can you get your cameras on this? And he's like, fuck yeah. So, and then so we did that. We did Light Up the Sky, the last thing. We did 2 takes actually, and they just ran it, and they ran the cameras. And the funny thing about the session is nothing. But the cameras are like, hey, man, can you just throw that on a thumb drive and give it to me? And he's like, it's 500 gig. I'm like, for the visual? Fuck, dude, come on. Get down a little bit. But anyways, he ended up mailing me a big drive. But the whole funny thing about that song is again, I was just, when I listened to it, and we got Jeff Scott Soto to sing it, and we have talked to Michael Anthony about playing bass and singing backgrounds, but we just haven't been able to get to that point. But he's down, and that's good enough for me. It'll just delay when it comes out. But the whole funny thing is, when I listen to it, I'm just really, really, really proud that I nailed so many Eddie nuances in one go. Yeah. Because it's hard to, oh man, I got the intro. Oh, that verse sucks. I got the thing. So with
that's a good point, Phil. I mean, Eddie, aside from being a virtuoso as a soloist and come up with these ingenious ideas and noises, making this guitar make noises that nobody knew a guitar could make, he's a phenomenal rhythm player.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and like he just throwing down these rhythm tracks, and they even have their own unique spin. Like On the One is kind of tricky, as Brad pointed out.
That swing, man.
It's still a rhythm guitar part.
Yeah.
Brad, do you guys do Hang 'Em High?
Do Hang 'Em High, right, bud?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of guitar players have trouble with that riff.
No, that one. That intro actually kind of got a little bit easy for some reason, and I was like,
a lot of YouTube videos.
That's fine.
That's like an I'm the One kind of riff.
Things in there.
Yeah. So I got
that track from top to bottom. When you listen to Isolated, it's like I get goosebumps. Like it's
unreal.
I'm the One.
No, well that one originally, but when I listened to Hang 'Em High a few weeks ago, goosebumps.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man.
I don't know.
I don't
know how true it is, but they said Eddie did I'm the One in 1 take, which is just completely insane.
I don't think that's true.
Or like on many interviews.
It was 4 takes with
100 takes.
I said,
it was Scott,
I took for the last 4 days, all I've listened to is Van Halen, and I actually sent Scott a video, because we talk all the time about Eruption on this show, and I listened to it in the right frame of mind, and I sent Scott a video of the hairs sticking up on my arm.
I'm like, why is he sending me a picture of his hairy ass arm? And then when I played the audio, you could literally see the hair standing up on his arm. It was really crazy.
Yeah, but it was. But I have a comment.
If your music can make your hair, someone's hair stand up on the arm, literally,
it did.
I mean, it
was emotional. It was straight up emotional.
It is emotional.
But after
to this day, that Eruption still sounds as fresh as if it just came out.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I think everybody here can definitely remember at the exact point, the exact time they first heard it.
Yeah,
and they can definitely feel those feelings that are associated with it. Without
and then multiply it by 100 or 1,000 because we've lost Eddie, and there's this emotional component. So while Eddie was alive, you would still get the goosebumps, but now there's like an emotional piece to it because he's our hero.
So I want to ask everybody the same question, and I want everybody to throw in. When I listen to the demos of all these songs that never got released, I felt like a kid listening to a new Van Halen record.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I was like, but the thing was, there were so many familiar parts. Like you'd be listening to She's a Woman, and it busts into the breakdown of Mean Street. Or there's another fast tempo song, and Dave goes, "We'll take a whiskey to a party tonight," and I'm like, "What the?" It's like, it took me to a whole other place. And go, somebody add to that.
I spent a whole summer listening to those demos. When I got my one buddy made me a copy, And I was like you said, it was like brand new Van Halen album. I couldn't believe it. I was freaking out. Like you said, all the little different nuances and the pieces that came together. It sounded great and it sounded fresh, even though it wasn't super produced, but it sounded just so killer, just the way it was, you know?
It sounded hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was in college at the college radio station, and we had records back then because I'm old, and they had the original Van Halen record in their arsenal of records they had there, and it was already a few years old. It came out in 78, I guess, and I guess I was at the radio station in the early '80s, but it was still sort of kind of fresh. And my radio show was playing alternate cuts instead of hits. That was my college radio show. So I pulled the record out. Very familiar with the record. There's tons and tons of writing on it from all the DJs over the years. Listen to this track. Listen to that. Listen to Eruption. Blah, blah. It was so much fun to read all the handwriting from all the DJs of all the that ever heard the song for the first time, and their comments about each song, which was fantastic.
Wow.
And that was really cool.
Phil, what I hear the most when I listen to those demos, I mean, you're right. It sounds totally raw and it has that energy, but you can see what a genius Ted Templeton was.
Yeah. Totally.
To hone in Roth with melodies and make them songs. It makes you realize how important a producer was to that band.
First record, and you're like, holy shit! But they had it together. Like Big Bird could produce this record. Yeah. But then you listen to the Gene Simmons demos. And that was a miss. So Templeman and Don Landy, man, they got their hands on that and they made it.
Yeah, they honed it in. Thank God.
Just for not everyone who watches this show will know as much about Van Halen. Someone take the reins and tell us, because we know it. We've talked about it on the show, the Gene Simmons piece of it, because we all know it, but not everyone will, about how Gene Simmons really was the catalyst for their success. Any of you guys know the full story?
I sort of know. Brad?
Yeah, he went down and saw them that one night, and and he said there wasn't that many people in the room, but they still played like they were on fire, and they put out like 100%, like they were playing an arena. And he said, I know, like Ted Templeman, the first time he saw him, he said it was kind of like falling in love with a girl. He said, I fell in love with his guitar playing. I romanticized about him and the way he played. And it was like one of the best musicians he had ever seen in his whole entire life. And so that was.
It is. Thank you. Yeah, it's such a great story. There were maybe 2 or 3 people watching them play. But Gene's there, and that's all that really mattered. We wouldn't be here right now if Gene hadn't seen them play.
The funny thing is, it actually pissed off Paul Stanley.
Yep. Yeah.
Bill Coyne.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I remember Paul Stanley's point of view because I read his book, and he was like, and Gene disappeared, and then all of a sudden he was producing Van Halen, and he took shots on them, and like Paul got really pissed off,
Then Kiss's management predicted that Van Halen would never take off.
That's fun.
Gene he couldn't keep his fingers in it. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Van Halen, the innovator, with his inventions and stuff. We're all familiar with the D-Tuna, right? Which we really can't live without now. I have it on a lot of my guitars. As a cover band guy, you always got to jump from a drop D to an E all the time. But what I came across, which I didn't know, but I've seen pictures of it, is this little platform thing that puts the guitar straight like this.
Yeah, the 1984 tour.
Sort of like a
so you could
like a bookshelf for a guitar, but it holds the guitar straight out, and so you can play it like a piano kind of. He has a patent on that,
but they never produced it.
No,
you got a patent on the Drop to Hell as well, but they never really did a mass produce on that either. I think it drops a string to like a low B or something like that instead of a D tuna, something like that. It was on As Is on the Different Kind of Truth album. That was like the Drop to Hell, but they never really made that either. But
interesting.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking that I don't think people give Eddie enough credit for, and maybe I'm wrong. That Fair Warning album was so heavy, and I didn't know until I tried to learn it, like Sinner's Swing and What Dirty Movies. There's so much drop D on that album that it's so fucking heavy. Like when I was a drummer and I first heard Unchained, that gung, 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 that 8th note kick drum, I was like, what the fuck is that? I didn't know what it was. But I think Van Halen is not, especially Eddie, they're not, think how many like Pantera and metal bands took that drop D, because I was in a metal band at one point and every chord was one finger. We used to drop the C. Yeah. But Eddie was like the beginning of that. Am I wrong, Phil? I don't know who else did that.
Actually, it was actually C sharp. So, because it was drop D and a semitone.
But just the concept of being in drop tuning.
No, I think there was some before that. I think Cinnamon Girl by Neil Young as a low.
But I mean, Eddie's the one that brought it into like metal and made like people want to start doing like those chunky riffs.
Whoa, Van Halen ain't metal, man. Come on.
you mentioned On Fire is pretty goddamn heavy metal.
That's a whole show, because they were always worried about that, right?
You know what's funny? The first album is very heavy metal. You got Atomic Punk, you got On Fire, they're real heavy. The first album is, besides Fair
in a
One,
world of disco, it sounded really heavy. I can tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
what's that?
Do a little dance, make a little, and then you go, dance. You know, it's like heavy stuff.
They played that in drop C.
But the drop, but in Unchained, it's what's really cool about that is he's actually hitting the chords not as heavy, but then really pounding on that low E string.
Yeah,
so actually, hard that it actually goes out of tune a little bit.
It actually goes a little sharp because he's hitting
it so hard.
And he realizes it and backs off. I love little details like that. That's the stuff that makes me go, holy fucking shit. Because and then they keep it. You know, how many bands would go, wait,
right,
dude.
Do it over. It's no good.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, do you guys play So This Is Love?
Yes.
Next time you listen to that song, listen to the snare drum. Alex starts hitting it at different points of the snare drum, where the way they record now, they take one pop. So it's going down to pop. It changes. You'll never hear that again.
Okay.
There was a lot of stuff Van Halen. I'd love to ask Alex if he did it on purpose. I knew all the drum nuance shit.
All I know is this thing was so much fun to make. There's so many holes and weird things going on here.
Wow. So I will introduce. That's another surprise guest.
This one was fun to make too.
I bought mine.
You need the yellowing, Brad. You got to yellow that thing. That was my brother's contribution.
I will eventually, but
He told me to buy translucent yellow paint and put a little teeny bit on a rag and wipe the whole thing down so it looks like
and let me tell you,
changed the shit out of it.
Drunk Dave was playing Scott's guitar yesterday.
He was.
And very drunk Dave was playing it, and it plays. Scott did such a beautiful job.
He videotaped me. Hold on, I got the video. You want to see it real quick?
Yeah, let's see the video.
Hold on.
That's great.
Sorry, he caught me in the act. I was in the zone. I had a couple of glasses of wine in me, and I was sitting down at his house wailing away on the sounds. Really great. Anyway,
sounds great, man.
It was fun.
Hey, Brad, I have a question for you guys that do the Romeo's Delight. When we did the Van Halen, like during the pandemic, we were all bored. So I just figured let's put a Van Halen tribute. We had like a bunch of guitar players. It was fun because I actually played drums, guitar. We had 5 guitar players, 5 drummers. But I noticed I love all the deep cuts, like Out of Love Again, half the band didn't know the songs we were putting together. And now the last Van Halen show we did, we almost made it like a Diver Down album. It was a lot of like poppy shit and covers. But do you guys find when you play, if you do like, DOA or I don't know, Light Up the Sky, songs that people wouldn't know?
Well, what we've been doing is we've been doing shows where you showcase albums. It's the only Van Halen tribute band who actually does that. We actually showcase albums, which is pretty cool. So we'll play Van Halen 1, start to finish, and then second, intermission, and then second.
What's the hardest album to play so far?
1984 was a real MFer. I got to tell you.
Gone Bad and Top Jimmy, right?
Top Jimmy.
How you do that?
Top Jimmy. I actually had the AB. I bought one of those stands that a guitar goes on. You walk up to it. So I had the AB because it's got that tuning, and then you AB so you can solo, and then you're back to. So I had to use 2 guitars for one song, and then of course, whatchamacallit?
Girl Gone Bad.
Girl Gone Bad. That one is just getting that timing correct, but we got it. And then House of Pain, intro along. We just kind of were like, okay, let's just make sure we all land on the F sharp after the.
You're making me want to listen to 1984 again, like
because it sounds out of time on the album.
House of Pain was in their old demos.
Let's just make it, great.
Tones. When you're doing, you got to change the tone if you're going from record to record, right? Because 1984 is cleaner. 1 and 2.
Yeah, I kind of don't, tell you the truth. I just I have an EVH 5153, and I just dial it up to where it sounds big and chunky, and I don't know. The people seem to love it.
Go for it.
Love it. When we did when I recorded "Light Up the Sky" with at the Bon Jovi sound check before the band got there, we people, when I listen to it, I go, man, that's really, really close. But when I play, for instance, Raise Your Hands, that's close too. It's almost like it's the approach of the playing. And this is what I learned. I had to learn jump to play, because I never had a keyboard player. So I didn't learn jump until July to play it in Indonesia. And I was listening to an isolated track, and I'm like, this got to be a cover, because it's Ed not being Ed.
Yeah.
Playing a C chug with the G and the F and the G, and it's like, wait a minute, that's it's not a special part, it's not a special tone, it's not a special it could be anybody, but then the solo kicks in and it's Ed.
Then it's pure Ed. Then it's pure Ed.
That really confirmed to me that it's a lot about the hands.
What do you guys think about him playing keyboards and stuff? Like, if you were in that band and you had this phenomenal guitar player. Now, David Lee Roth is famous for saying, "You're a guitar god. What are you doing with the piano?"
If you wrote a song like "Jump," I'd feel pretty good about it. I'd feel pretty good about it. I'd be like, yeah. I mean, why not?
To this day, I'd love to try to learn right now. I have many piano players that play in my band. None of them can play right now, or they have a real trouble with it.
Really?
Oh, Eddie's stretch. It's like, and back to his timing. His timing is not what a piano player would do.
Wow.
So
that's
the last show we did. I won't say his name. The last freehold show we did, my main keyboard guy that really pulls off Eddie shit pretty well couldn't do it. So I recruited another guy. The week of, he was like, dude, I am fucking flipping out. I feel like I have a fever. I can't believe how great of a piano player Eddie Van Halen was.
I would recruit a sequencer.
Well, I wanted to have it live, and I mean, it is what it is. But
I mean, that's what we heard.
It's a testament to how good Eddie is on the piano. I mean, the guy did everything great.
So speaking of non-guitars, I for our Romeo Delight guys on the panel, but really for everyone, I did a lot of thinking on my deep dive over the last few days, and if you were to ask me before I did that, who am I? Am I a Hagar guy? Am I a Roth guy? I would have said Hagar, because these days I kind of love Sammy. I always loved Sammy. I've seen him live. I've seen him with Van Halen, and today Sammy's voice is 1,000 times better than Roth's voice, and he's a guitar player and all that. But when I did my deep dive, I personally reached the conclusion that Roth was a genius, a troubled, wonderful, wacky genius. And I don't know that we can give Sammy that. I love Sammy, but I don't know if people are going to say Sammy's a musical genius, an innovative genius. He had more commercial success than Roth.
I think for me, Sammy's the more polished singer, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes polish is not good in rock and roll. I mean, so many early rock and roll artists weren't polished, and that's what made them great.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of I got sick of the American Idol thing. With no lack of respect for those guys. A lot of them are phenomenal singers. But if you put I don't know, pick a singer. If you put Mick Jagger on a show like that, he would be
he wouldn't have made it.
He would have got X'd off right away.
I gotta jump on the pedestal right now and just say, as much as I am a Ned disciple and love and geek out and can't stop geeking out about his work of art, his body of work, when it was Eat 'Em and Smile or 5150, it was Eat 'Em and Smile.
100%.
Yeah.
I cried when I heard Sammy Hagar was joining Van Halen at 15 years old. I was like, the 3-lock box guy? I was like, fucking kill me. But I love him now, and I watch YouTube too much. When they fired Sammy, Alex Van Halen was saying he writes like a fucking 14-year-old bubblegum pop songs. But that's what was great about Roth. Roth was so... You ever see the Joe Rogan interview? Like, whenever Roth's on Rogan, it's the only time I watch for 3 hours. As nutty as he is, he's just so goddamn interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what rock star would be an EMT in his 40s? It's insane. It's
well,
nuts.
no, I got lucky last year when I was talking to Michael Anthony, and he was like, hey, what songs do you want to do at the fundraiser coming up? Because Sammy's going to be there. Do you want to play any Sammy? And I'm like, well, because we were going to do we did Ain't Talking About Love, and Michael sang it. And then it's funny because I'm like, so am I singing your harmony? He goes, no, I'm singing lead and I'm singing my harmony. You're the boss, dude. And then I go, I got to be honest, man, I don't know any Sammy Halen. And he's like, no, it's cool, man. Let's do Rock Candy. I'm like, I was like, I learned that when I was 13. And that was like, okay. And that night was so amazing because Sammy was just...
Scott, we have a picture of those two playing together, right?
Yeah.
I do.
Look at this.
I'll say this: the first 3 Sammy albums, Eddie had some amazing guitar on those albums.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that!
I stole that right off the video. Freeze frame.
Okay, well, you're talking about 5150.
5150 is my least favorite album of all time, but OU812 and the Fuck album were great. I really got into those albums. I love the tone. When OU812 came out, I bought my one and only Marshall 800 that my friend gave back to me. Thank God, it's worth like $4,000. He's like, don't sell it. But I remember I ran into Vernon Reed and he was digging my playing. I was like, holy shit, there goes the guy from Living Color. But once I hit an open chord on that Marshall, I go, that's all Eddie uses.
Yeah.
Because remember, I was getting back to it. Wasn't that over distorted? It made me practice clean for a long time.
Exactly.
So you can't because you're right. The more gain, I listen at this point. Like Brad, when I'm doing my Van Halen shows, fuck it, I add a little extra gain. There's no one in the crowd anymore like this, So any little help I can get, the better. But
I got you.
That has other aspects in life too, because I'd be in the studio and recording a solo for somebody's record, and then the engineer would go, sounds like you need more gain. And I'd be like, wait, before we get more gain, let me just adjust these guys.
But double it.
To the amp, So I would do that. I would I would pick lighter, because when you hit a tone like that really hard, it tends to fart. So I'd kind of back off the picking, hit it a little less, and just make sure the hands are tight. And he goes, hey, what'd you do? I go, oh, I just played different. And he's like, oh, okay. And it works. But that's the thing with Ed, when you really learn that you can't have all that gain to hide everything.
Right.
To me, I mean, we could vote on this. I'd rather see somebody play less accurate and be full of fire and attitude and recklessness than to hear somebody play it accurate with no fire.
Yeah,
like
you mean
my
feel,
video
like
clip.
fire's like feel.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear the Ted Nugent story? You had to hear that one, right?
Yeah, of course.
Do you guys know that one?
Tell it.
No, I want to hear it.
I think it's the coolest story. And, when I used to take lessons from Bumblefoot, he used to play an Ibanez Roadstar for $200, and that dude can fucking slam, So it always made me think it is in your fingers. It's not your amp. It's not your guitar. But Eddie Van Halen said when he came on the scene, Ted Nugent was the big gun at the time, and Ted swore it was his amp, and Eddie just said, like in the article, so I grabbed Ted's guitar, I played, sounded like me. He goes, when Ted went to play Eddie's guitar, I guess Eddie just had it so fucking loud and radical. He said Ted Nugent couldn't control it. He's like, it's all in. So everyone's different, you know. Everyone has their own.
I heard it that Ted plugged into Ed's rig and just sounded like Ted.
Right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. Like, but he's saying he couldn't control the craziness of it.
Right. So almost like you're getting into a hot rod that you can't. You know, you've got
that
0.9 seconds 0 to 60 kind of thing.
If you notice, the louder your amp and the higher your, like getting those harmonics, you need a certain kind of like push from your amp if you're not going to use a lot of gain. Right. That's how Eddie got those harmonics so clean, because he was so fucking loud. He had the Variac where you heard that story where he bought like an English amp, and that's when he realized. But being that his amp was just so goddamn raging, like you said, like a hot rod, he knows how to control it, and but it gives him that clean like tapping sound. I notice if I have too much gain and I go to do like the little taps and push come to shove, they don't come out. There's too much going on.
How many people on this panel own Double Live Gonzo?
What's that?
How many people on the panel own Double Live Gonzo?
I feel bad to say I don't even know what that is. Is that Nugent?
I saved $14 for that double album back in the day.
I like Ted more now than I did when I was a kid.
Yeah. I wore it out. Ted Nugent was my guy before Ed, like right before. Like, so when I was 11, I was dropping the needle on Double Live Gonzo, and I saw him a bunch of times at Maple Leaf Gardens, and it's really cool because I got to Derek St. Holmes has become a friend since the Hired Gun documentary, and he is 70 and still sings Stranglehold better than Double Live Gonzo when he was like 23 or 24.
That's something.
Some of these guys just age, not age.
Right.
It's amazing. I saw them on the Kiss farewell tour in 2000 with the original members and everything. He opened up for Kiss. It was in Hershey Park. It was awesome. Yeah. It was amazing. It was amazing. He was very mad at Janet Reno that night, but it was great. It was awesome.
Rage is good for rock and roll, though, no matter where it comes from, politically or otherwise.
Yeah. Guys, I gotta say something extremely unheavy metal and rock and roll. I gotta bail. I have to talk to a wedding couple.
That gig.
How unmetal is
there
that?
We go. That's all right. It's all good. It's all part of it.
Their wedding song is, a Van Halen song. Why can't this be? When it's love, I'll try to convince them.
That's right. That's right.
Great meeting all you guys. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, man.
Bye, Joe. Oh, now we can see the Van Halen background.
Yeah, we can.
Oh.
So all right. So here's another sort of topic, and we've been hitting the fringes of this, and actually Joe talked a lot about it. The incredible rhythm section of Michael and Alex.
Yes.
How did that help Eddie? Because when I'm listening, I'm happiest when Eddie's not playing a lead. I'm happiest when he's playing rhythm with those guys. It's insane. It's fat. It's mean. It's heavy.
Out of Love Again.
Yeah.
Alex is ridiculous on that. And obviously, Michael's in his pocket. And it just created an incredible canvas for Ed to do.
I feel like that Ed and Alec used to kind of just sort of go in a room and jam for hours and come up with stuff without a bass player, and then they put the bass in and then lock it in that way.
How was that, Scott?
The crazy thing is something just came out. It was Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen jamming War Pigs in 74 or something. And Ed singing. I don't know if you guys heard that. It's online.
No.
Well, I'll be know what to look up after the show's
and people are like, that's not Ed. It doesn't sound like Ed. I'm like, well, you've only been playing for a year. Shut up. Is that Alex, as a young drummer, is fucking locked.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God, he's so on. And that's really, really that
Eddie. Eddie started as a drummer, if I recall, when they were kids.
That's
right?
correct. He fought with Alex, and they switched. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he played that much.
But
so
he had some. He had some rhythm. A lot of guitar players don't have the rhythm. They just don't have.
Yeah,
it.
but they played with their dad in jazz bands. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of rhythm and the bounce.
Right. Yeah.
The bounce and the swing came from that for sure.
Real. Yeah,
absolutely. I think Alex is one of the most underrated drummers. Like, you should, not that you don't hear about him, but like you should hear about him more, because he really, like, you know, there's not a lot of drummers out there, for me anyways. I mean, this is to my ears, that you hear and you go, oh wow, that's this person, that's that person. You know, there's a lot of drummers out there. A lot of drummers sound the same. You know,
dude.
But like I think, like, there's drummers like Alex. You know, it's Alex when Alex is playing. You know, it's Ginger Baker when you hear Ginger Baker.
Yeah.
You know, so on and so forth. Like, there's certain drummers like that. I just don't think he gets the credit. Like, he should get more than he already got.
I think it's because he's in a band with Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Well, you get right.
Yeah.
I hated the electronic drums that he had, though, for a couple of songs. They were terrible.
I know Joe mentioned Center Swing guitar, but Center Swing on drums is one of my favorite drum tracks.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And then
in a world of, you know, Bonhams and Neil Pearts and stuff, you know, you don't hear his name mentioned enough.
That's true. He doesn't come up in the conversation. He probably should.
Yeah.
You know, I was just
as ultimate huge drumming heroes.
Think about, like, you know, I mean, it's very, very popular, so it's not an obscure track, but Hot for Teacher.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, you know, to listen, you know, now we take it for granted because it's in a good way an overplayed song, but the first time any one of us heard that drum intro,
right? I mean, I was thinking to myself, where are they going with this? This is like really crazy, busy drumming. How are they going to play this? And then he comes with that lick, and I'm like, oh my god! Now that sounds like the culmination of just the two of them messing around in a studio somewhere, and they just came up with this little ditty, and then they made a whole song out of it.
Yeah, I think Alex's snare drum is very iconic. I think the snare drum sound is very, like, wow. When I hear that snare, you know, it's the old Ludwig LM something 402 or whatever. It's probably the wrong model number. But, you know, my brother has that snare drum because he's a drummer, and he gets it to sound like Alex's, and it's just.
Well,
that snare is a magical snare. Yeah, I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think Diver Down is when he really nailed it.
Yeah.
I think the snare on Diver Down is like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And everything just derives from that, you know. And then put Michael in there. I mean, we haven't even talked about for Bud, you know, what Michael's harmonies did for Dave, and then later Sammy. It's you know, and now you do hear Michael coming up in the conversation. You hear Michael and Alex coming up. Before Eddie died, I don't think he did. Yeah. Not as much. I think everyone thought they were really good, but now I think
definitely unappreciated members of the band.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something about Michael Anthony right now.
Yeah.
Like when I went to that fundraiser that I played, and he played all night, and he played with the band that was there, the house band. And John Five was there, so he got up and they played some Motley Crue, and they went in to Kickstart My Heart. Like, oh, this is what Motley Crue sounds with a great bass player. Not to be a dick. Not to be a dick.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Listen, it doesn't even have to be a famous band. I could tell you that I've played with some bass players as a former drummer. And my dad being a drummer and being around drummers like almost my whole childhood life, you get the wrong bass player and you just like, it's like dragging an anchor around the stage with you all night.
Yeah,
all falls apart if your bass player sucks or your drummer sucks.
So
it all completely
brutal. I can even play with a bad drummer. I can't play with a bad bass player. It sucks so bad. You can't feel it. You can't connect. Like it just doesn't glue the whole thing together.
And then the flip side of it is, I guess, really what we're saying, when you have an amazing bass player like Michael, a rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. And, you know, and then you put him with Alex. Holy shit. You know, like, and that was my renewed appreciation. I thought I was listening for the past 4 or 5 days to listen to Eddie, and I turned out that's not what happened.
Oh, yeah.
I already knew what
That's
to
the full
expect
picture.
with Eddie, and I started listening. My ears took me somewhere else, and
That's the thing that makes Van Halen so special. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, it's yes, giant part of it is Eddie, of course, but it's not all Eddie. Like,
No.
I think the thing that makes Van Halen so special is that you do have Alex, you do have Mike, of course you have Eddie, you know, you have Dave or you have Sammy, and it's just, you know, and the whole Davey Sam thing, like they were two different bands. You know, that's the way that I look at that. You know?
I wish they didn't keep the name Van Halen when they got Sammy in the band, because to me it wasn't Van Halen. But you know what? I think you know what makes great spark? Friction.
That's true.
And Dave and Ed were like this.
Oh
the whole time.
And on 50, Sam and Dave were like this.
Wait, what was that, Phil? Can you show us?
No, what's the Rockmore, man? Come on. You know, it's just obvious to me. Like, those guys were just, you know, man, I'm getting all the chicks tonight. Yeah, I got fucking new licks. Fuck you.
Right. Well, look at Pete and Roger. Pete and Roger got in fistfights. You know?
Oh yeah.
And you're right. That's a really good point for that creative, artistic energy. I mean, what is drama, right? Exactly. Drama is friction. Friction is drama. Yeah. You're right. And there is. That's Sammy.
You can't write a good love song unless you broke up with somebody.
That's right. Yeah. Or got broken up with, right?
Imagine if every relationship was harmonious and beautiful. We wouldn't get we wouldn't have any angry love songs.
No.
Not a one.
Yeah, you got to have that edge in there. You got to just.
Yeah.
It's the only way you get the fire and the spark, you know.
Yeah, for real.
So when's Romeo Delight coming to LA?
We're looking. I'm not sure.
This is West Coast cats, East Coast cats. I mean.
Yeah, we're East Coast. We're East Coast right now. Hopefully, come out there.
You guys do a lot of shows, though. My God, your roster's loaded.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
Buddy. It's all buddy. I mean, he's a booking maniac. I don't know how he does it, man. And the shows he gets are like amazing.
Wow.
You got to keep connecting with people, and you know, just share the love of Van Halen. Once you get into the theater, like make sure you ooze it all over the crowd, and they know.
Yeah. You know what? It's like whether you're doing a tribute like you guys are, or whether you're just doing your own thing. I learned from Van Halen to, you know, go on stage, and I'm a fan, right? So I go to see bands, and I know what I want to see on stage. So that's what I exude when I get on stage.
Right.
Yeah.
So whether I'm, you know, playing a cover set for at a party or somewhere, or whether I'm just rocking the fuck out with my band, The Drills, I just know where it's gonna go and what's gotta happen. And that's when, you know, you in the finale, I'm gonna get abducted by a spaceship and watch me throw the guitar into the audience, or like, oh, what's happening right now, dude? You got too loud.
One of Dad's band members, right, Dave?
That's
right. The difference between playing and performing.
That's right. And
what happened? It's like, I think that's rock and roll, man. It becomes a part of you, and you become a part of it, and it's something that if you always know what you're doing, and you're always just you're not in the moment, you're thinking and all that stuff. That's not rock and roll, man.
No.
Rock.
Yeah.
But all four of you guys play for your audience by being true to yourselves. You know?
Well, I think that's important too. You have to be true to your. Sure.
Yeah.
But
I've seen it. We talked when we had you on the show. That's what you do. You were as authentic as they come.
Because I mean, you know what? I can tell by just talking to you guys that it's not just the tribute thing. It's literally taking it somewhere. You know.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to be.
We're all inspired by it, but I think. Well, I mean, Brad's in a different situation. I mean, he's expected to cover the King as close as he can get. I'm not expected to do that, but I do take pointers as far as the performance goes. You can't stand there like a stone, and be great on the guitar. I like almost similar to what you said before. You could be kind of a shitty guitar player, me, and jump around the stage, and people remember the show and have a good time at the show. They're not bored out of their mind.
Right.
I think if you could do it all, if you can go out there and put out all that energy and keep your performance, like I know for me, like I really want to bring those melodies with a lot of breath and open air and fullness to it, so people can hear the clarity and really the way that Roth wrote those melodies, and the way that Eddie wrote all that music. You really want to bring it. You just want to create that richness to the best you can, the best of your ability. Tons of energy, but real open and clean. I love.
And as far as jumping around stage, bud, you must be a maniac if you're going to pull off all those David Lee Roth moves. Bending your back. If I bent my back like that, I'd collapse.
I don't even tie my shoes anymore.
You're doing cardio the whole time. It's great.
Yeah, you lifts and jumps and shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, I almost broke my ass up in where were we? Where's the Riviera Theater?
In New York.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York, up there. I did a scissor kick off a freaking drum riser. I almost broke my ass. I just went into it. I was like, all right.
It looked good on the video.
Yeah, it looked all right in the video, but like the landing, I was like, oh shit.
It's not the jump, it's the landing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, I did it. It was a lot more frightening than I thought it would be.
I have one jump per show. That's it. That's all they'll let me do at age 60 is one jump.
And I tell you what, off of a freaking drum riser, it was like, it was a lot higher than I thought it would be. Holy shit.
Never fell off the stage yet, though. Yet.
Oh, yeah.
That day may come, but I fell off the stage.
Man.
So how do we find Romeo? How do we find you?
If you look, you got to go to VanHalenTributeBand.com.
Yeah.
All our stuff is on there. All of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna cover your face, guys, but there's a QR code for Romeo Delight that'll take you to the website.
Actually, the name of the actual website is VanHalenTributeBand.com.
Wow.
Awesome.
It is.
That's a good URL to own.
I know.
Very good. That's very good.
We are lucky.
And Phil, you were omnipresent, but where do we find you?
There's his little QR code.
Look
at his official website.
No, don't do that. That's under construction.
Is it? Better not be.
Dude, that needs work. Actually,
well, tell us where we should go instead then.
I mean, everything that I talk about, everything that I do is all on Instagram, and that's PhilX1111. I just feel like everybody goes there, and I mean, I tried TikTok for a bit. Man, if you don't put content up all the time, it becomes this dormant thing. And Dad, when I'm home, I'm with the kids. I'm Dad. I hardly play when I'm at home, to be honest. But it's like my fan club is amazing. So the official PhilX fan club website.
They are great, yeah.
It's amazing.
I follow you guys on Instagram.
They're like, hey, you confirm that you played on these new records? And I'm like, yes. Like, thanks for doing that. Because I don't.
They're awesome. They became part of our little family after we had you on the first time, and they were sharing our stuff, and we were sharing their stuff, and one of the things I try to do is cross communicate with everybody else's fan base, including our own.
Yeah.
And now Romeo Delight will be part of that club, and we'll be sharing their stuff and tour dates and whatnot.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Scott, where do we find you?
Oh, Smoking Jackets. We're still playing around here in the Jersey Shore. We have a big Christmas show coming up in December. We have a couple of new bits. I think it's at Bar A, in Bar Anticipation in Lake Como, in Belmar.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
New Jersey.
I know in Jersey somewhere on 14, 15, 16. Anything going on?
I think our show is early December. I think.
Oh, is that when you're in Jersey?
And we're bringing a friend's another band's horn section with us. They're going to play with us. Friend Zone is the name of that band, and we're stealing their horn section. So we're going to do Christmas songs with horns and all that stuff. So I won't have to play the kazoo for Born to Run this time. I played a sax solo on kazoo for Born to Run, and it always gets a lot of laughs. You have to sing that into the kazoo, and it sucks because that sax solo is like way up there.
That's great.
People think I'm just blowing. No, I'm not blowing into it. I'm singing into it. But we have a couple of more bits. We're gonna. I got a megaphone for a song. We're gonna do something with a megaphone. Just get that tone, just for shits and giggles and fun. That's what. It's just a fun band. The drummer has little signs that he holds up, like the Roadrunner, but he holds up, I'm with stupid, or put your hands together, or sing.
They're wonderful. I've seen Scott Span 100 times. They're fantastic.
So we're a lot of fun to watch.
Everything he knows he got from me.
Man, you guys are amazing. You guys are a lot of fun.
Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, Brad, we opened up for the band you were with at the time over there in Asbury Park that time.
It was fun, man. Your band is fun. You guys do all wacky things. There's signs. You guys are like having people, audience
confetti gun.
The confetti cannon. Yeah, that makes an appearance every once in a while.
Monday Night Raw without all the violence. It's great.
So I got to say, this was absolutely fantastic, everyone. It was literally what Scott and I have been wanting and hoping for.
Oh no, that's rock and roll. You hurt yourself,
dude. I slashed my thumb. I like literally the day before Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's your left hand too.
No, yeah, I know, right? So I can hold a pick. I had to do a session like the next day, and I was like, how much thumb picking something. And so, anyways, but this is how it works in my house, right? Yeah. So I'm about to peel some potatoes, right?
Oh no!
Washing the new peeler, and it falls out of my hand, and I go to grab it with this hand, and I actually grab it by the blade. I didn't mean
they are sharp, those things,
and I didn't know it was gonna go under my hand, my thumb, like going into a turkey. Sure. And I was like, and my wife's like, "You just did that so you wouldn't have to peel potatoes," and I'm like.
Hello, do you know how I bring home the bacon? These hands are
wait,
in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I'm just kidding. Are you okay?
Jesus Christ!
I'm like, you just saved yourself.
I did the smarter thing. I got a flu shot like a couple days before Thanksgiving and just pretended I was sick.
Oh, perfect.
Nicely done.
Perfect.
Meanwhile, I'm a pharmacist, and she's like, "You're full of shit. You're not sick."
Yeah.
Get in there and start peeling potatoes.
Now she's gonna see the video. She's gonna be like, "Oh, so you pretended?"
That's right.
I came clean. We're actually having my wife on another show. We're going to talk about what the wives have to go through or spouses have to go through when you're a band wife or a band husband or whatever.
Oh man, that's tough.
And all the different things you have to put up with, not being home and loud practices at home and groupies and helping load equipment and all kinds of stuff. She can't wait to get on camera and tell everybody.
Yeah, it'll be a good one.
Oh my God.
So that's an upcoming show.
This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I love geeking out on Eddie Van Halen and music and all that stuff. And I do think I call myself, me and my group of friends, it's getting larger, disciples of Ed. But I'm also an Eddie Van Halen asshole because when people send me stuff like, dude, check this guy out, he's doing this. And I'm like, it's not good enough. And it's not that it's not good enough. Like I said earlier, it could be articulate and it could be accurate. But if there's no piss and vinegar, I don't.
No, you need that. You have to have that.
Dude, wait. Here's a video of this girl. She's 14 and she nails eruption. You got to watch it. I'm like, you do a backflip. And then I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm a dick when it comes to that. I really am.
Years ago, this brings me my little story I meant to tell tonight. My dad went to, when I was in college, and being friends with Tico and stuff. He got invited to different things that we were like, what happened? So I'm in college and I come home from college and my father goes, I'm exhausted. I go, what happened? He goes, oh, I went to Les Paul's 70th birthday party last night. And we're like, right. Yeah. So my brother and I are like hanging on every word. So who you were there? Well, I was hanging out with Rick Derringer most of the night, and this and that, and we met Les Paul, and there was another guy, Steve Vai or somebody. He was good, and then this guy Eddie Van Halen was there, and he was an asshole. Eddie Van Halen.
Oh I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this story, but I heard a great one. Van Halen was opening up for Bon Jovi in Europe years and years and years ago. Tico and Ed were playing pool, and both pretty out of it.
Right.
And when Tico wasn't looking, Ed would drop balls into pockets.
Oh my God.
With his hand, he just scoop it in there, right? And then Tico turned around and caught him and pinned him against the wall by the neck.
Oh dear.
And David Bryan runs over and goes, Tico, don't kill Eddie.
Well, he was cheating. Maybe that was Eddie Van Hagen and not Eddie Van Halen.
That's true.
Yeah, you know,
And
maybe
evil-
That's what happened.
His evil twin. Yeah.
That's pretty. Come on.
Yeah. Good
Oh,
stuff.
God.
Well,
wow.
this has been beyond fantastic.
I got to figure out how
everyone.
to end this show, David.
What's that?
I'm now the co-host. I have to think about all this technical shit behind the scenes.
All right, you want me to just? I'll work the crowd for a little bit while you do that. You ready?
Thanks for having us, guys. It was amazing.
Brad and
Yeah,
Bud,
thank-
nice guys.
It was
And
great
thanks
meeting you
for
too, Phil.
Stories.
Yeah, you guys are great. Bud and Brad and Phil.
Geeking out.
I don't even have any jokes for the crowd right now. You ready, Scott?
We could. Our next show is about technology affecting the music business with our good friend Mooch from Big Bang Baby, who's very outspoken.
He might have an
Very-
opinion or two.
Very full of rage and doesn't like even iPads. He hates monitors with words on them. He hates AI. He hates auto-tune. He hates
Very
temper
full of
amps.
rage. I love it.
We're going to do an hour with him on Wednesday night, and he's going to be full of piss and vinegar, and that should be another fun
That's
show.
going to be.
Great.
Yeah, we're taping that just in a couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun
So-
with that.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
gonna be a lot of
Enjoy
fun.
the rage.
So let's see. Let's end the show with. Why don't we just end the show with Phil?
Yeah,
Since
let's
he did
do
a
the Phil bumper.
spot.
We'll do
Yeah,
the
you
Phil
guys, if you ever want to do a bumper for the show, here's how you do one.
bumper.
Have
Yeah.
a good night, everybody.
Thank you guys so much. This is great.
And it's Phil X, and you're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen. And Guitar Tales, Guitar Tales. Like, what else do you need, right? Guitar. We're geeks, nerds, gear, inspirations, positive vibes. Look out.